Hope that was for me. How's it going, everybody? Hmm. Wow, I didn't even have to ask you twice. You're already warmed up. Uh, mm. Hmm. I'm not warmed up yet, sorry. Get a little extra in there. Uh, Hello, my name is Brian McGuigan. I am the co-founder and curator of this reading series we call Cheap Beer and Prose, also the program director here at Richard Hugo House. Before we get into the readings, I always ask who's been to Cheap Beer and Prose before. You make some noise. These hand raisers. This is not the fucking classroom, people. Maybe the better statement is, or question is, can you make some noises if you've been to Cheap Beer and Prose before? Can you make So I want to tell you all, there's a board meeting going on upstairs right now. My boss is up there, and I really think they should be down here instead because this is way cooler. So I want them to feel really, really, really jealous that they're not down here. And in order to make them feel really, really, really jealous, I think you all need to make way more noise than that when I say, can you make some noise? That was pretty good. I may lose my job or get a raise for that. See what happens tomorrow morning. What about folks who haven't been here before? Do we have any newbies? Some virgins? Wow, nice. We will show you a good time, I promise. Well, for those of you who have not been to Cheap Beer and Prose before, we have some rules that we expect you to abide by. Recently, I had a kid, which is not part of the rules here. But it means that I'm constantly creating rules all the time. Don't stick your fingers in light sockets. Don't cram the dog's face in your mouth. Don't poop in the swimming pool, and so on. So tonight I've decided to rehash these rules as if I were telling them to my 9-month-old little boy, whose capacity for language is very, very small, probably about the same size as yours when you leave this evening. So these are the rules as I would tell my 9-month-olds, if you were here. Rule number 1, drink. But please drink responsibly. Don't drink and play with your blocks. Don't drink and try to climb out of the crib. Don't drink and drive, even if you are strapped into a car seat. Rule number 2, have fun, laugh, cry. No, don't cry. I hate it when you cry. Squeal, burp, shout, snort. For those of you non-breeders, yes, snort is a new term if you don't have a child, perhaps, but snort is when you sneeze and fart at the same time. When my baby gets really excited, he does that, and it is hilarious. Rule number 3 is don't be a doo-doo head. Be nice to your mama and your daddy. Be nice to other kids at daycare. Never take someone's bottle or their snack. Say please and thank you. In the context of this reading, don't be a doo-doo head means please turn off your cell phones. Don't talk while people are up here reading. Tip your bartender. Don't step on anybody as you are walking through the crowd. Rule number 4 does not translate well to baby talk, but fuck it, who cares? It's support local writers. The translation would be, if something happens to your daddy, one of them might adopt you. It's possible. Tonight we have 4 readers, all of whom I think would be good stand-ins for me as a parent. They are Ross McMeekin, show some love. Jennifer Munro. John Osebold. And Suzanne Morrison. If they don't end up as my child's parents, they could be your parents. See how much they drink. And speaking of drinking, I'd also like to thank PBR, our sponsor. Can we give some love to Pabst Blue Ribbon? Now, for those of you who have been here before, you know Charlotte Grenz has been our host for many, many years. But she left us because she got knocked up and moved to Portland. Fucker, whatever. But we have a brand new host this evening, and her name is Jeanine Walker. She promised us she will not get pregnant in the foreseeable future, which was important. We also chose Jeanine for a variety of reasons beyond her capacity to not get pregnant. What really cinched it for me, though, was when we interviewed her, she sent us a thank you email, which included the following, and this is a direct quote from that email. In case it helps, I'll tell you now that I can commit to having a baby on stage, as well as conceiving it up there. You could be the lucky one. That's not in the email, but I'm adding that. To drinking while pregnant, which we do not espouse here. To motor board, which is a conflation of two completely different ideas. Motor boating, which is when you stick your face between a woman's breasts and go brrr, and waterboarding, which is when you hold somebody underwater until they tell you top secret information, usually a terrorist. Anyway, so she promises to motorboard at least one woman while serving as host. Could be one of you. And to heckle the hecklers right back. So that alone right there convinced me that she was perfect for this job. And I hope it convinces you too. So please welcome for the very first time, and I want to hear a lot of noise for Jeanine, Miss Jeanine Walker.
See, I've never done that kind of thing, the motor boating, boarding, and I'm not going to either. I was lying when I said that. It's a lie. So in case you listen to the podcast, I decided to wear this. I was going to wear a teeny tiny PBR t-shirt, but that never arrived. So this is my teeny tiny PBR t-shirt. So I'm super excited to be in this role, and as it was in April when I read here, I can't see anyone, so it's really awesome. It's really convenient to do that. We have 4 great readers, as Brian has told you all tonight, and I'm really excited to have the stage with all these people. And if you remember, all of you know Charlotte, yes? Yes. Charlotte's great. And something that she did that I'm going to continue to do is sort of have a little interlude between readers, which is a time for you to get up and drink some peebs and drink some whiskey and whatever else you might want to drink, and not worry that you're missing the featured acts. So I was thinking, what would I do for these interludes? And so I Googled fun firsts, and because it's my first time, and I kept coming up with all these really, kind of lame things, like the first like paragraph in a novel or first song, whatever. It was all really dumb. But the Google page on Fun First is really funny. So I'm going to read you some of those tonight. You ready? Okay. The first one that comes up is Fun Firsts with an exclamation point. Fun First, March 1st, 2008. America's first pizza parlor opened in New York City in 1895. The first beer can was introduced in 1935. The first stereo record was sold in 1958. Funny Boy Fishing. Funny Boy Fishing catches his first fish, YouTube. May 29th, 2011, 1 minute, uploaded by Baby Tedster. Hope this isn't your kid. Funny video of my son catching his first fish, May 29th, 2011. The fish Teddy named Free was released back. There's a couple more funny ones on this page. Funny first sign mistakes, frowny face. Orca Forum, May 3rd, 2010. Feel free to share any funny first stories. Ha ha, poor lady. I know of one funny sign mistake. I did work, crazy, WTF, back then I used to. And then this one I really like because I used to be a homeowner. From Florida Realtor Magazine, wacky and funny first. Good or bad, your first transaction is always memorable. Let's take a trip down memory lane to find out what crazy things happened during these first. And this is my personal favorite, especially given the I may have a baby on stage at some point comment. Mac and PC funny first, January 10th, 2012, funny first. I can start a post while breastfeeding too. Loving the iPhone. Any suggestions of apps you can't live without? So those are firsts, and it's great. So our first reader for tonight is Ross McMeekin. And I asked the readers to send me a bunch of ridiculous and interesting facts about themselves, and they've been making me laugh all week with their ability to make me laugh on their ridiculous facts. So one of the things that Ross told me is that he's on a, that's great, he's on a first name basis with Coach. Do you guys know who Coach is? Not the guy from Cheers, anyone who grew up in the 80s or whatever we grew up in. And Craig T. Nelson, right? Can I have a little shout out? Thank you for Craig T. Nelson. Does no one else know who Coach is? Thank you, okay. No, this is really important though. You guys do know who Craig T. Nelson is, yes? Thank you, okay. Well, the thing is, there's this horrible movie called Failure to Launch that stars Matthew McConaughey and Sarah Jessica Parker. And I'm pretty sure, I watched it with my best friend. She was going through a breakup, and I was pretty sure that who they really wanted for the role of the dad was Craig T. Nelson, but instead they had Terry Bradshaw, because maybe Craig T. Nelson wasn't available. And what happened is that at some point in the movie, we got to see Terry Bradshaw's ass. And, I mean, he was, you know, a great Steelers player back in the day. My brother's a giant Steelers fan, so we love him. But I didn't want to see his ass. He's kind of an old man now. And when I saw that Ross was on first-name basis with Craig T. Nelson, I wondered if he was, you know, it's like, is he also on first-name basis with Terry Bradshaw's ass? And, but I don't know. He hasn't told me that yet. So we'll see. But I will tell you some real things about Ross right now. Which is that Ross McMeekin's fiction and essays have appeared places like Pank, Emprise Review, Monkey Bicycle, The Rumpus, and the late, great Dark Sky magazine. He is the assistant fiction editor at Hunger Mountain, as well as the founding editor of the new minimalist prose journal Spartan, which has a debut issue coming out in 2 weeks. He studied English at the University of Washington and got an MFA at Vermont College of Fine Arts. He teaches occasionally at the Richard Hugo House in Seattle, where he previously served as an intern, as well as at Edmonds Community College through their Arts Now program. He was born, raised, and now lives in Seattle with his wife Jessica and his daughter Naomi. Please welcome Ross McMeekin.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Jeanine. Actually, Terry Bradshaw's ass and I are incredibly tight. We've actually motorboarded. Sorry, that's gross. Another gross thing. Brian talked about the snart, and I had one the other day. I've got a 3-month-old baby, and she's at home right now with Grandma. And we've had snarts, the sneeze fart thing. We've also had the sneeze, take a shit on your t-shirt. So that's I don't know what we call that. Yeah, tell me later. So I'm honored to be here. I mean, this is great. Thanks to Brian and Steve and Jeanine for inviting me. It's great to be reading with Suzanne and John and Jennifer. I'm just glad that I get to go first, so I don't have to follow any of them up. And I'm going to read a couple stories. Both of them are pretty short, kind of in the flash fiction area. And this first one, I've been writing a lot of stories since having a baby, because it's really freaking crazy and scary. on stage. I haven't. That actually sounds, no. I didn't have her, I didn't have her at all. I just pictured Terry Bradshaw's ass again right there. But it's scary. So I've been writing some stories. So this one is one of them. It's called What Happens. It came out in Pank Magazine's August issue. I'll give her this. The black lipstick really enhances her sneer. But it's all the further she'll go, the sneer, at least this time. If I didn't have something she wanted, the keys to the Civic, she'd make it a hat trick by giving me the finger and yelling, "Fuck you." But nothing she can do will convince me to let her drive to God knows where with some random poor intention teenage boys without providing me with locations, names, periodic phone calls, and a solid curfew. "Why do you even care?" she says. "I always care. But I'm 17. "Doesn't matter. You're still my daughter." "So, you're still my father, and I don't need to know everything. You just don't trust me for no reason." Recognize this conversation? Most people lucky enough to have had parents that gave a shit took part in some form of it dozens of times. She's wrong, though. This has nothing to do with trust. This has to do with the fact that I can't concentrate when I don't know where she is. It's a lifestyle issue for me. The big problem here is that I love her. And since she was born, her existence has made me very, very afraid that something might happen to her. But explaining that has never worked. She can't see it, not yet. So I flip it on her, tell her something that happened before she was born, something I know she'll think is unfair and manipulative. And she'll be right. What happens in life is often unfair and manipulates everyone and everything. A year before she was born, I tell her, I found my father dead on a white plastic chair in the middle of his back lawn, overlooking Puget Sound. His mouth was open, just slightly, making it look as though he didn't care at all that the rain had scattered what little hair he had left, revealing too much of his freckled scalp. I tell her that beside him sat an empty coffee mug smelling of orange juice and rainwater, and in his pocket hid an empty plastic bottle of the Percocet he'd been taking for his hips. Also in his pocket was a note that was too damp to open. I had to wait for it to dry before I was able to read what he'd written. The note contained a list of instructions detailing what to do with probate, as well as the locations of the keys and access codes for the lockboxes, safes, and bank accounts. But it said nothing about the decision itself. As I spoke, my daughter stood there, that black lipstick still helping her show how cruel I was to tell her such a thing. A bastard. And maybe she was right. See, I told her the story to illustrate how a moment like that would change a person's entire outlook and instill in them not only a deep-seated fear of losing those they love, but also the need for those loved ones to provide locations and names, check in often, and adhere to curfews. I was trying to coax some empathy from her in order to more easily obtain information that would allow me to thrive for the next 6 hours. But if I'm a bastard, it's because I made a few parts of the story up. It was the gardener who found him initially. It hadn't rained, and the note was far from empty. It was really more of a novella, illustrating a whole mess of reasons why he killed himself. But none of those facts would help deliver the message I needed to get across. And it did get across. I know this because now that I'm done talking, she just stands there, no sneer, arms crossed, motionless by the door. She doesn't know quite what to do. But she gets the point. I can tell. And I'm not surprised. She's a sharp young woman. My guess is that she hasn't said anything because she's trying to figure out how she can still be indignant after what I've just told her. For a millisecond, I spot what I think is suspicion, pinching her penciled brows. And I think she might call bullshit on this story. But some of what I've just told her confirms what she's already heard about her grandfather. There's enough truth to it that she won't take the risk. And she doesn't. But I know soon she'll find a way to continue the argument, a way to be pissed, probably inside of a minute. Like I said, she's sharp, and she's too much like me not to. But as she watches me, I feel something happening in my stomach. The kind of discomfort that usually comes when I'm not being as straightforward as I could be, perhaps should be, with my daughter. I can see how it might seem unethical, even cruel, to invent extra details about an already sad event in order to make it more powerful, so I can get what I want. But the truth, what I know for sure, what I've already tried to tell her before multiple times, is something that she can't understand. It's something that will never spark her empathy. It's this. I know that teenage boys are, at all times, an inch from indiscretion. And the boys she hangs out with, what can I say? I don't trust them. And while she's strong and willful, she's also 17 and prone to giving boys the benefit of the doubt when they don't deserve it. I hear her talk on the phone with her girlfriends. These boys, these victims of suburban angst, they can do anything they want, and she'll psychologize about why they did this and that until it seems the punks are completely justified in their actions. No wonder he's like that, she'll say. They could steal her car, which is actually my car, and she'd find a way not just to forgive them, but to love them for it. I remember when I was 16, wearing a jeans jacket loaded up with band buttons and some Robert Smith starter set eyeshadow, and how I viewed women, even in spite of my bleeding heart. I was a dog. The only thing that interested me was finding a way. There was this one girl who I invited to see The Cure when they came into town, and after the concert we found ourselves in the back seat of my car, going further than when we should have. She didn't exactly say no, but she didn't exactly say yes either. It's not something I'm proud of now, but it was something I bragged about then. You get the point. I know what teenage boys are like. I know what my daughter is like, and I know how easy it can be for boys to push things too far. And I know how convenient it is, afterward, for everyone involved to pretend nothing happened. My daughter and I are silent together for an amount of time that is beginning to get uncomfortable, even for me. I rock back on my heels, trying to be patient, trying to give her a chance to respond to what happened. But in the end, I can't help forcing the issue. Address, I say to her, or no keys. Names, or no keys. Phone on, or no keys. A call at 10, or no keys. Home by midnight, or no keys. Dad, she says, come on. The truth, or no keys. That's final. She cusses under her breath and pulls out her phone. Fine, I'm texting you the address. In his note, my father said he wished he'd told my sisters and I more, which was odd, because it seemed like he spent so much of his life telling too much. Our ears got bruised. The last thing any of us wanted was to hear another word. Yet he hated it when we talked. You could see it in how his face would scrunch up with pain just before he was about to interrupt us and finish the conversation himself, a move that remained his signature to the very end. My daughter is almost done tapping in the text, and I can see that the sneer is beginning to return to her face. I slide the keys from my pocket and toss them over. She grabs them from the air. I turn and walk away before she can beat me to it. Thanks. I read that for my wife Jess, who's over here, yesterday, and she said, "Yeah, that one's perfect for cheap beer and prose. It's going to make everyone need a drink." Right? So I'm helping you out. I'm going to promote something that I'm involved in really quick because Brian said it was okay that I could. There's a new literary journal that's coming out that I'm excited about, that I'm a part of. It's named Spartan, and that comes from what was once famously referred to as Raymond Carver's Prose. Spartan Prose. We've got the first online issue that's coming out October 1st. It's got some great people like Jensen Beach, Mary Stein, Terry Laskowski from Smoke Lawn Quarterly. It's also got some local folks like Len Kuntz is here tonight, as well as Eric Evenson. Submissions will also open October 1st, and Cheap Beer and Prose, I got to figure there's some prose writers in here. So if you're interested, check it out. We'll be on the internet. We're going to do 4 quarterly issues. Not 4 one, you get what I'm saying. An issue every quarter. And then we're going to do a print annual. It's going to be a lot of fun. So keep your eyes peeled for that. It's going to blow your mind. www.spartanlit.com, but don't go there yet. Trust me. I don't know what you're going to find there. I'm going to put something just gross up there just to see if anyone goes and visits it. Terry Bradshaw's ass. If you go there, well, maybe that's something you want. Okay. So this next story, one of the projects I've been working on is a collection of really short stories that all have to do with the life of a fitness center. And this is one of those stories. It's called Uncles, and it's coming out this fall in the Bellows American Review. We're old enough to be uncles of the point guard, Vin, who's talking shit to some teenager playing in our afternoon pickup game for the first time. He's just a cub. Give him a break, says one of us. Vin thinks this is the Sweet 16, says another. His glory days remain vivid, says one more of us. We wait on the sideline for our turn to play the winners and talk about the many things of which Vin seems unaware. That he's not good. That no one here is good. That this is a fitness center pickup game. And that being the king of this court means absolutely nothing in the larger scheme. Then, as play continues, we hypothesize why Vin is such an asshole. His penis is small. His penis won't get erect. His penis fill in the blank. That sort of thing. The conversation continues along those lines and everyone enjoys himself. But a new guy, some gentle-hearted eavesdropper, pipes in from the bench, says maybe Vin's an asshole because his childhood was genuinely difficult. Or maybe because he recently lost his job. Or perhaps as a result of his mother dying. Nice job, gentle heart, we think. Way to shame everyone. Can't take a joke. Who is this guy? We all move a little further away, leaving him to enjoy lacing up his sneakers alone. Back on the court, someone passes the ball to the teenager, who's sporting an old Sonics replica jersey, by the way, soon to be obsolete because of Chris Hansen. Give it up for him if you're a Sonics fan. He's wearing a Sonics replica jersey and looks to have what will probably become, a few years from now, the jawline of a quarterback. He's probably the tallest kid in his class, and we'd guess he's accustomed to playing center or power forward with his friends. But with us old guys, he's the height of an average guard, so he has to play wing. We watch him attempt a no-look pass. One of the opposing players steals it and dribbles it up the length of the court and lays it up, uncontested. Substitution! Yells Vin, even though the kid is playing against him. You'd think he'd want the kid to stay in. It would only help his team. But sometimes Vin cares more about the quality of play than winning, which is strange, seeing as the quality of play is so low to begin with, and the court is 3/4 the size of a normal court, and in half an hour the step aerobics class will kick us all out. Chin up, hollers one of us to the teenager. Gotta pay your dues, says another. This is what they call tough love, says another one of us. We like the kid, not because of anything he's done to earn it, but because it's either him or Vin, and Vin is an asshole. For a few moments anyway, we wish the youngster all the success in the world. To ourselves, we talk of his prospects and wonder if he's tried out for the local rec league football team as well. There are reasons to believe he might become a large man. A few plays later, someone sets a pick for Vin just inside midcourt, forcing the kid to guard him. They face each other at the top of the key, both looking fierce. In his defense, the kid knows most of his fundamentals. His knees are bent, one hand down guarding the ball, the other up in the passing lane. But he's focused on the ball, not Vin. Vin sees this and bounces it right off the middle of the kid's forehead. The kid falls back on his heels, and Vin catches the deflection, drives the lane, and lays it in. The highlight is nothing spectacular, but it's as good as it gets here. Vin points at the kid while running past him, then sticks out his tongue like Michael Jordan. The kid's eyes burn. As play continues, on the sideline, we talk about whether Vin had a right to use Michael Jordan's tongue move. We remain undecided. Back on the court, the kid keeps calling for the ball, but no one will pass to him because it's clear he isn't very good. We talk of how coordination takes time to develop and how he still might have a future in sports. Again, we say he is a large kid. Again, we mention rec league football. Finally, someone passes to him, and from the top of the key, he lofts a high, arcing three-pointer that flubs wide off the backboard. Brick. Okay, time out, says Vin. He isn't smiling. I'm serious. Someone needs to substitute for this joker. We look around at each other. One of us says, hey, buddy, we already have our team. Gentleheart, in the corner, gets up and nods that he's willing to take the kid's spot on the floor. What a prick, we think. Gentleheart is an asshole, too. This is bullshit, says the kid, chest on display. Bullshit, says Vin. Then he acts out the kid's ugly three-point shot, hurling the ball off the side of the backboard. That was bullshit. I'm in, says the kid. I'm playing. I don't care what you say. Come back in a few years, says Vin. He inbounds the ball to Gentleheart and jogs up the court. The kid stands there for a moment, then walks over to the corner and grabs his backpack. Poor kid, one of us says. He's just a cub. Vin must be the man at all times, says another of us. He keeps forgetting this is the fitness center, says another. But none of us stand up for the kid. We don't encourage him either. When he passes by us, backpack slung over his shoulder, face torch red, we turn our shoulders away and pretend to be occupied with the game, which has already continued on without him. It's too bad, we think, but in the end, this is what's best for him, and this is what's best for us. Surely the kid's time will come, and until then, our names will be called, and we will play, and we will do what we need to do to keep playing until our time is up. Thanks a lot.